Good morning. My name is Rádl Rogerová. I am a managing partner of Deloitte Czech Republic and at the same time the Chief Strategic Officer for the majority of Europe in Deloitte. We will be talking today a lot about gender diversity, equality in decision making, and because it's so important topic, I'm not here alone. I am here with Hedwige, the chair of the European Women's on Boards. And welcome, Hedwige.
Good morning, Diana. Thank you so much for inviting me in your beautiful studio in Prague. Our mission as European Women on Boards is equality between men and women in decision-making roles. We support the ambition of the European Commission to reach 40% in the boardroom by 2025. And with this gender diversity index report, we show where we stand and we disclose best practices across leading companies in Europe. We are happy to have both men and women in the audience, and we would welcome to have your questions and comments in the chat. We will answer as many as we can.
Hedwige, we have today many great speakers with us, so let's look jointly to the agenda, which we prepared for you. And what is very nice is that the keynote speaker will be Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission.
Yes, and we will have Mirjam de Blécourt as well, who will be commenting on the latest progress in the Netherlands. We will also talk about France, the UK, and many other countries.
And we will be sharing practices, experiences, and the best examples, I believe. So let's start. But I will start with the question. Can you please tell me the ambition which the European Commission have on having 40% quota? Seems to really be ambitious. So what are the drivers for such a change?
So basically we see 4 drivers of change. And the European Women on Boards is playing a role in each of them. We have, as you say, the European Commission, but we also have what individual countries can do, what individual companies can do. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we have each of you in this audience who can help as well.
Thank you very much. So let's do the first thing. Let's welcome Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission.
Dear Hedwige Nuyens, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Why diversity? Why women on board? Because all research and economic studies show that companies that embrace diversity are more successful. And this is true in business, in politics, and in society as a whole. And still, too often, and especially when looking at top positions, we hear men say that it is not possible to find women with the right profile. Well, if you are seriously looking for them, you will find them. I know this well from experience when I fought to have the first ever gender-balanced College of Commissioners. And look at our societies. Diversity is a fact. But whether diversity is reflected in companies and institutions is an active choice. It has been 10 years since the Commission proposed to set a target of 40% for women on boards of publicly listed European firms. For 10 years, our efforts to put in place a European legislation have been blocked. 10 years where voluntary measures have not brought the change we need. Your organization was founded in response, and you made the Gender Diversity Index to provide an objective European benchmark on gender equality. Among the over 600 companies in your index, 35% of board members are women. This is a beginning, but we have to get better in the European Union. First of all, because 2 of the best performers in the index are non-EU countries, Norway and the United Kingdom. It is good that nearly half of the EU member states included in your index already have quotas, like my home country Germany, or like France, the only EU member state in the top 3 of your index. And these are the countries where much has improved in recent years. But the others are lagging behind. And as you state, the glass ceiling remains firm in place at the top of European companies. If we look beyond boards, at the top leadership positions, just 7% of the largest European companies are led by a woman. Boards are one thing. It is the knock-on effect that matters. As more diverse boards hire more diverse CEOs, who, in turn, hire more diverse managers, that's what counts. We're making progress, but not fast enough. Not everywhere in the European Union, and not nearly enough. So it is clear that we need to do much more. When change does not come naturally, regulatory action is needed. The numbers speak for themselves. Legislation works. I will push, as President of the Commission, to ensure that our proposal on women on boards becomes European Union law. I've met with member states and members of parliament, and I'm confident that soon we will see progress. We cannot afford to lose another 10 years. I count on you. And together we will make sure that change happens.
Diana, what a wonderful speech. And I must say, I'm always impressed when I'm listening to Ursula von der Leyen. And I still remember the moment she was elected. I could feel change coming. And we now have in history, for the first time, a woman President of the European Commission. And listening to her, what really strikes me is a lot of things we will comment upon in this event, but what she was saying, that even for her, it was not obvious to get that gender parity done at the highest level. And what an example for all of us to get that done. Also the fact that she is supportive of actions taken by European women on boards, not only at European level, but each country. I think this is great. And we are very grateful to have that support of the President of the European Commission. So actually, President von der Leyen talked about it already. The board directive is really important. And we as European Women on Boards do a lot of efforts to have it back on the decision table. So let's look now at a video showing our press conference in Brussels last week and our meetings with EU officials. Elisabeth, we know there are big differences between countries, so what do you think?
Yes, indeed, Hedwige, and I am very proud that in France, Elisabeth Moreno, the minister, will get to the 40% overall very soon.
Congratulations, you as a French lady, you're doing well, and we hope as EWOB, with our press conferences this morning, to really make change happen in all countries. So Nelson, we know that President von der Leyen is confident about this directive. What is your comment?
Yes, I'm very optimistic that this directive will finally see the light out of the tunnel. The sleeping beauty, as they call it here in Brussels, will finally be awake and approved during this French presidency. And I think that because of our hard work in EWOB, will definitely pay off.
Great, and thank you also, you, Nelson, for the hard work, and so proud of what we did. Thank you.
Hedwige, I should say it's impressive what you are doing with the European Commission.
Yes, and we are so proud to have a strong connection, as President von der Leyen said in her speech, and we are hopeful to make progress on this important dossier in 2022. But of course, it's also about countries and companies. Diana, you are in charge of Central Europe for Deloitte. What differences do you see between countries?
You know, it's a great question. I should say that the strategy, it's very consistent, within the countries, but the level of implementation, of course, differs. Especially in Central Europe, I see countries where we are very developed in the area of gender diversity, equality, but still plenty of work to be done. But there are countries where we are less mature, so it's really depending country by country.
Yes, and we see the same with the Gender Diversity Index report. It gives us a very precise view on what is happening in each of the countries. It's the third edition now, in a joint collaboration between European Women on Boards and Kantar Public, a leading company in data analytics.
And that's why I am so happy that we have another guest, and it's Daniela Uličná. I recall Daniela from the last year. I was impressed by her. Her knowledge and passion about the topics, it's just amazing. So we have today with us Daniela Uličná, which is the head of policy and evaluation in continental Europe for Kantar Public. Daniela, you have been leading the research, but tell us, please, why the report is so unique.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me, and it's really a joy to be presenting this report for a third time. So indeed, we see that this report is unique because it looks at corporate leadership in a broad sense. It doesn't only look at the board, but also the executive level and the board committees, so also the leadership pipeline. Indeed, a lot of attention is paid to the presence of women on the board, and there is still a lot of progress needed there. But what we see is that the situation in other leadership roles is actually a lot worse. Well, secondly, this report is unique because it doesn't only compare countries, but it compares individual companies. So the companies can benchmark themselves against their partners and their competitors. And finally, we now have 3 years of data. So we can track changes and see what is the share of women among the new joining leaders. And we can also see what is the share of companies who have improved their gender diversity over this short period of time. For your information, this report is based on a sample of 668 companies that are quoted either in Stock 600 Europe or in selected national stock exchange indexes.
But Daniela, in a way, you go further than the European Commission.
Well, we are able to make an analysis at a more granular level. Indeed, we are able to look at specific companies. We are able to look at different and specific positions of leadership. We are also able to compare how the group of corporate leaders has changed. And that gives us an idea of the pace of change. So we are able to see how many women are there among the newly joined leaders. And from that, we can make some assumptions about what the future will look like.
Yes, that's clear. And could we perhaps start with the number of women at board level? What are your findings?
Indeed. So across all the companies covered, so this is the 668 companies, 35% of board members were women in 2021. Norway and France are the only two countries, though, of the 18 countries covered, where the average share of women on the board is above the 40% target proposed by the European Commission. We also see that only 39% of companies covered in our sample are above this 40% target. On the other hand of the spectrum, though, we have 12% of companies that have 20% or fewer women on the board. And there are still some companies, even among these high valuation companies, where there are no women in leadership at all.
That's quite unbelievable. So perhaps it would be nice to have a look at the graphs with the percentages of women on boards per country. Look at what is happening. If you have a green country that is putting a target, you can see that the target is met gradually. So if you put 40% in France and Norway, you will get to 40%. It works also with soft targets like in the UK, Ireland will get there. But of course, if you have nothing at all in the blue countries, you can see what happens. So I would say setting a quota works, can work to find the women with the right profile. Once you have a quota, many countries go beyond. And 30%, as the European Commission has said, is realistic, but it will not happen unless we take additional action, either country by country, either ideally at European level. So thank you so much, Daniela, for your insights. And here is a video summarizing the study results.
European Women on Boards presents the Gender Diversity Index 2021. The index measures gender diversity at all levels of corporate leadership. This third edition confirms that corporate leadership is becoming more diverse, but at the same time, the progress is slow. In 2021, a higher number of companies have a GDI score that is close to the ideal value of 1 than in 2020. 35% of board members were women, still falling short of the 40% target. The situation is, however, worse at other levels of governance. Only 19% of persons in executive roles are women. Women CEOs remain an exception. In the past year, 17% of leadership positions were newly staffed. Only 30% of newly nominated leaders were women. Men, therefore, continue to dominate recent appointments in companies covered.
Hedwige, tell me please, what about the executive level? Why is it so important for the European women on boards to look at the C-suite?
Well, it is because at board level, of course, you decide about the strategy, but the implementation is done at executive level.
Okay, I understand. So if you want gender equality in decision-making, I believe you need to look to both levels. Yeah. So what the report is exactly saying?
Well, as Daniela told, women are even more underrepresented at C-level.
Why? How it's possible at all? If I am not mistaken, in the talent inflow, in most of the companies, it's 50-50.
Yes, indeed. And we know actually that at university level, 55% of students are young women now. And as President von der Leyen already explained, if you are looking at the end, only 7% of companies in Europe are led by a female CEO. And this is shocking. And that is why we need all those actions.
That's really a bit worrying. But I believe some countries are really taking very big actions. If I'm not mistaken, France, for example?
Yes, absolutely. And so gender equality has been a priority for President Macron from the start. And he appointed Elisabeth Moreno as Minister Delegate for Gender Equality, Diversity and Equal Opportunities. And Elisabeth Moreno managed to introduce a law requiring companies to have 30% women at executive level by 2027 and 40% by 2030.
I should say this is a quite breakthrough, and I only can hope that many other countries will follow.
Well, we have another great example with the Netherlands. Let's welcome on stage Mirjam de Blécourt, who has been advocating for years for more women in the boardroom. Mirjam, welcome. The Dutch Parliament approved a law in September 2021 to have more women at the decision table in companies. My question is the following. What measures are foreseen and why has it taken so long?
Yeah, good question. There has been a debate for years in the Netherlands with quite different opinions on the subject. And many believe that companies had to be in the driver's seat and that the number of women in the boardroom would then automatically grow over time. But what we saw in practice is that the progress was slow, way too slow. And so finally we managed to find a majority in Parliament for a legislation. And the law that has passed in the Netherlands is quite unique because it's a combination of mandatory quota at supervisory board level for stock-listed companies and company targets at executive level for a much wider group of companies.
Yes, that's amazing. But Mirjam, you told me that you have been working on this file since 2006. So how did you manage to persevere for so long? And how were you able to get it done finally?
Yeah, it all started with the fact that I had a long-term vision and a clear goal. So no one could stop me. And that was because the topic is so close to my heart. So gender equality and diversity are basic principles as well as an essential factor in a successful professional environment. So I always knew that change takes time and real change takes patience, I've learned. However, I could never have envisaged that it would take even more than 15 years.
Amazing.
So I've known, amazing. I've known from the start that the business case was strong and essential, and the full potential of talent should be used. Why not? But the real challenge is, of course, to engage, connect, to move people along, and to never give up on that effort. So as you can imagine, it took role models, it took change at the tone at the top, it took companies, it took a necessary embedding in organization, top to bottom and bottom to top. And finally, I must say it helped in the Senate, in our People Party for Freedom and Democracy, the VVD, that we have 50% female and 50% male since 2019. And our chairperson in the Senate, Annemarie Jorritsma, was on board to vote for the quota and supervisory boards that now have been adopted, as well as for ambitious targets for boards per January 2022. So I would think a great start of the new year.
And Mirjam, what results do you expect in the coming years?
Yeah, for the supervisory board of stock-listed companies, we now have a mandatory quota for 33%. And as long as the quota for women is not reached, only women can be nominated. So I expect that we will meet the target quite soon. And I'm really enthusiastic about that and hopeful. And I know it will be met. The targets will be met. For executive levels, it's up to the companies themselves to set ambitious targets, and they will have to disclose those targets and report on action plans and progress to the socio-economic board, which will also help, I think. And organizations such as Talent to the Top have been very actively engaging with companies on the subject over the past years, and they will be doing so the coming years. And we know from experience that companies that are committed to targets themselves made a significant progress already, and this at all levels, which on average 37% women in supervisory boards, 35.5% in managing boards, and 32% at executive level. So as you can see, that companies can lead and drive change, but they need a plan, focus, and commitment from the top, and some help from maybe talent to the top.
Thank you so much, Mirjam. It's great to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirjam. It was a pleasure. And I should say, I love how persistent you are on moving the gender equality agenda on. So thank you for being with us today and for the concrete examples you gave us. Thank you a lot.
We have another guest with us today, Rosa Kriesche-Küderli, our board member in charge of research and communication. Rosa, welcome to this studio. You have been looking at the results in detail. Why is this report so important?
Good morning from Munich. Good question, Hedwige. Well, we believe what gets measured gets done. So the GDI for us basically is a way to track progress and also a call to action. So it's really important for the EU, for Europe, for politics, but also for individual companies to really, check where they are within their industry, check where they are within their countries, and, from there, start to take actions.
And Rosa, what are your findings?
Well, I think we heard it a couple of times today already, but it's really important to say it again. We do see progress on board level due to restrictions and quotas, but the overall speed of change is still too slow when you look at the broader definition of leadership. And, there are countries that are doing better and there are countries that are doing worse. And I would like to talk about these in the minutes to come.
And how does it work in practice?
Yes, it's really complicated, but I would like to use simple words. It works a little bit like a thermometer, and I prepared a slide here that it shows you how it works really. So what we're trying to achieve is a balanced leadership, and that is 50% men and 50% women, and that equals a perfect one. So a perfect one as a GDI is 50-50. So currently we are at 0.59, which is right in the middle. We are halfway there to equality. And everything above gets greener and greener, so we get happier and happier. And everything below that line, below this average of 0.59, is getting redder and redder. And zero, a GDI of 0 indicates 0 women on boards and executive levels and all leadership levels. So, just keep that in mind. 1 is 50-50, and we are only at 0.59, which is a 5% increase from last year, and that's just too slow to get us all into the green, basically.
Yeah, that's of course still lots of progress to make. But if we look now at country level, could you tell us who passes the test?
Sure. So there are 2 ways of looking at this. You could either take the bottom companies and the top companies and look, where do they come from? Which are the countries that they most belong to? So you could say that the bottom companies typically come from Poland, Germany, and Czech Republic. No good news for myself as I'm sitting in Germany right now. But you could also look at the top companies, and we see that most of them come from France, UK, and Sweden. And I prepared another slide where you can look at the GDI average. So this includes all the companies that we measured, and the GDI there says that no country goes above 0.8 GDI. But we see that Norway is leading the pack with 0.72, followed by France and the UK. And at the bottom, we see Poland, Luxembourg, and Greece.
So let's hope, Rosa, that you're right. What gets measured gets done. So we can only make progress, and we need it to meet the goal. Thank you so much, Rosa.
Hedwige will look to the actions taken by the European Commission, but as well on country level. It's not right now the proper timing to look as well to the best companies in Europe?
Absolutely, Diana. So in our research, we find 84 companies meeting the target of 0.8 referred to by Rosa. These European best practice leaders will receive a special award to be recognized by media and institutions. We can congratulate all the names that we see on screen now, and you would expect, of course, a lot of Swedish, Norwegian, French, English names. Diana, we have a great lady now from a very inspiring company. Let me welcome Alvine Tremoulet, Global Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Leader at Pfizer. Good morning, Alvine.
Good morning, Hedwige, and thank you for having me today. Thank you.
So you are calling in from Paris, a great city, and we can say that Pfizer is not on our list of companies as it is headquartered in the United States, but Pfizer's story is fabulous. And they recently became a gold corporate sponsor at European Women on Boards. So my first question for you is the following. Can you share why you are so passionate about gender parity?
Thank you very much. I think I was born and raised in Cameroon, Central Africa, and I came in France, Paris for my communication and PR studies. However, when I was growing up, it was maybe around my 4 or 5 years old, I clearly understood that there was something wrong with women, with being a woman. And it's really at that time that I really, understood very quickly that, whatever I can do, depending on the control that I can have, I will always do something for little girls and for other women. And then growing at Pfizer in my current role, I am the president of the Healthcare Businesswomen Association, the Paris chapter as an example. So whatever I can do for other women, I will do, because clearly there are so many barriers that we're putting on ourselves as a woman. Of course, depending on where you sit in the world, of course, those challenges are going to be different. But clearly, we need to give women more confidence of themselves and also make sure that we're involving men in making that difference. So, and also I have 2 little daughters, and my passion is also around that, making sure that I'm living a better world for them where they can be themselves and do whatever they want to do when they want to do.
Yeah, great. That's such a moving story, Alvine. Thank you. And could you also elaborate on the role of the company's culture to achieve gender parity?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is critical, as I used to say, culture, it's strategy at breakfast. No matter what you do, the culture is really a key component to really increase, and make a difference on gender parity. Because first of all, leaders set the tone. And at Pfizer, with the new CEO, Albert Bourla, we have 4 values. We have excellence, we have courage, we have joy, and we have equity. And the single fact to have equity in our culture is making that difference, really having, the goal to increase by 2025 the level of female leaders of VP plus by 2025. And the fact that is in the culture, the fact that is a strategy, it means that no matter where you sit in the world, you have to follow that goal. Of course, depending on, the level and the grading of, female leaders in your country, in your team, you're going to focus on maybe entry-level manager, senior manager, director, senior director, VP plus and above. But at the end of the day, you need to start by the entry level to make sure that you will make a difference at the VP plus level. So culture and being strategic to really meet that goal of achieving gender parity. It's not about, just, starting in the morning. You really need to plan it. You need to listen at what are your, women and female talent challenges and address those to really meet those objectives.
Yes, that's so true. And perhaps, Alvine, can you also talk about the topic of intersectionality and why this is so important?
Intersectionality means, because we're talking about gender diversity here, is sometimes when we talk about gender diversity, it's a mainstream topic. However, it's important that we have the different realities of women in mind, because women are different. Women have different realities. And this is where equity comes to place, is you can be a woman and with a disability. You can be a woman and single mom. You can be a woman and caregiver. You can be a woman at a certain age. Now, intersectionality is really let's say, the accumulation of those differences within one woman, and sometimes it can lead to discrimination at that intersectionality piece. And that's why in a company, for when we talk about talent management and talent development, especially for women, it's important to really acknowledge that there are different women and their needs are going to be different. It means that you need to address those differences first and address their needs accordingly. Like, I'm a woman, I am a single mom. My needs might be different to the need of a woman with a disability, a woman with a chronic disease, as an example. So that's why I am personally passionate about the topic of, intersectionality, because as I used to say, we can be, in the same storm, but on, many boats, and that needs to be taken into account.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alvine.
Thank you so much, Alvine. Thank you as well for sharing your personal story. This is amazing that you are doing so in front of so many of us. So thank you for that. It's amazing. And I should say I can recognize many aspects that we see as best practice in terms of diversity and inclusion. So thank you for that. And thank you for being with us today. Really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
We have another guest now, Hagen Schweinitz. He's one of the most popular speakers at European Women on Boards. He's a real champion, an ambassador for more gender equality at the top. Hagen is leading the global board and governance advisory practice at Eric Salmon and Partners. So Hagen, welcome. I have this one question for you. What would you advise companies willing to have more women in top leadership positions? And is it something you get regularly, or is it an exception?
It's a very good question, and it is indeed a question that we get asked quite frequently. So let's look at the business case for gender diversity on a boardroom level. So research from the US financial services group NASDAQ shows there's a strong correlation between diverse boards and better economic performance, investor protection, and board decision-making. In 2003, Norway became the first country to introduce the corporate board quota, having major international impact. But these political initiatives are embedded in a contextual setting that can foster or hinder success. So on a corporate level, instruments like unconscious bias training has been dominating diversity and inclusion efforts. But behavioral inclusion without structural inclusion will not change the status quo. With everything else being equal, women are still promoted at a lower rate and paid less than men, and members of racially and ethnically underrepresented groups are even promoted less and paid less.
So, and what can companies do to create that kind of culture?
Now, there are very simple steps that every company can apply, and it starts with talking about their perspectives on board diversity, publish their own views on diversity. It is to disclose how a company measures their own board diversity efforts. And when looking for board candidates and C-level candidates, it's advised to broaden the search and look beyond the traditional hunting grounds. Mm-hmm. To focus on long-term planning and to invest into a candidate pipeline of potential C-suite leaders and board directors is key, and to create a tone from the top that fosters a positive view and difference and diversity. These are the key measurements a company can do to drive that kind of inclusive culture.
Thank you.
I can really see why Hagen is so popular with your members. So it's impressive. It was a great advice, Hagen. Thank you very much for that.
Yes, indeed. Diana, Hagen has helped us a lot and is a source of inspiration for many.
Thank you. You know, we at Deloitte, when we look to those things, we see that more and more companies are coming and putting the gender diversity and gender equality to the top of the agenda. But what is very important and what we found is that it's still needed to put clear objective, measuring and reporting, especially in the area of remuneration, you know, as well in the area of succession planning, talent management, because without that, it's very difficult to achieve the goals. So, and if you want to have a real impact in a short-term time period, you need to do that. Hedwige, we talk a lot about European Commission, countries, companies. So can you share with us what is European Women on Boards doing, please?
Yes, we have set an ambitious strategy for 2022-2023. First, as explained, we already have the relationship with the EU, and it's very important to increase our efforts to have that board directive on the decision table again. Second, we are building partnerships with 20 countries in Europe. We find like-minded associations to connect with. Third, we are setting up a task force to engage with all the 668 listed companies that we mentioned in the report, sharing best practices and making progress. And then last but not least, everyone in this room and in the audience, we are building a talent pool of 1,000 senior executive women ready and eager to move to a C-suite or board position. We offer development programs to help them take on these important jobs.
This is a great strategy. So how many women do you have so far on the talent pool, please?
So we started in September, and we have over 200 women in the talent pool so far. Our objective is to be at 500 by the end of this year and 1,000 by 2023. And for all of you in this audience who are interested to look for a network, if you are looking to have support, inspiration for that next level in your career, connect to us on LinkedIn, visit our website, europeanwomenonboards.eu. Our events and programs are online, so it's really easy, and you can participate from wherever you want across the world.
Count me in, please. But I believe we have still one more video, no?
Yes, indeed. And you know, it was the fourth driver of change. It's all of you, ladies and gentlemen. So I asked Antony Harling, managing partner at Arkerman, a boutique executive search and executive coaching business, another great ambassador of European Women on Boards, to give us his top 3 tips for all of us asking themselves how you get into a top executive or non-executive position. Let's listen to what Antony has to say to us.
I think there are really 3 points that I would say to people. But before I get into the 3 points, the first thing I would say is be clear that this is what you want to do. If you want to move up to be a non-executive director, go and talk to other people who are doing that kind of role and make sure that's what you want to do. So the 3 points that I'm going to suggest are, firstly, develop your personal narrative, become fluent in that. Secondly, is to leverage your network. And thirdly, it's engage with the executive search world. So on the first point, it's really all about developing your personal network, developing your personal narrative. Get your story in a way that's clear and compelling, and make sure that you can convey where you've come from, where you are today, and how that relates to what you want to do in the future. Be confident about your personal narrative. The second point then is to leverage your network. 85% of top-level jobs, whether they're in the board or in the C-suite, are coming through networking. So use your network. Take your narrative out to your network. Think about how you can make that network bigger. Think about how that person that you're networking with, how that person can lead you on to somebody else. Is there anybody else in your network that you think I should be engaging with? And nurture that network, develop that network, and use that network to try and inform yourself. And then thirdly, I would say, is focus on the long-term relationships with the executive search industry. There are probably 40, 50, 60 people in the executive search world. that you need to know. Find out who they are, engage with those people, initially with a very short email, and have your LinkedIn embedded in your email signature, and then work very closely with that network over a long period of time. Get to know those people, help them whenever you can, and make that executive search network part of your extended network. That's the goal.
Well, I think this was really good advice from Antony Harling, and it also nicely illustrates what we are doing at European Women on Boards. We want to make networking and learning easy and fun. With our monthly events, we make sure members get inspired, feel connected, and take the next step. So for all of you in this audience, you have comments, questions, please put them in the chat. And if you think it might be something for you, do subscribe and apply to be part of our talent pool.
Hedwige, it was a great day, but I should say it seems that we are coming to the end of the program. And I would like to thank you a lot, because the work which you are doing together with all the people around you, it's amazing. Thank you for giving us at Deloitte the chance to be here with you as well, because I believe we have a joint mission, which is really empowering, but as well helping more women to be on the boards and influencing and making decisions. So I really like this vision, and thank you for having us with you on that mission. It's really impressive. And at the same time, I like a lot your strategy. You know, you are already driving the 4 drivers which you mentioned before, so I really like it. It's impressive. And last but not least, I have to thank today as well to the whole audience, not only because you have been listening to us, but because you are here with us, you are supporting all of us. And I believe this mission, it's not only about you, me, but all of us, we are here. So we together will manage, and we will be doing much more work in the future. So thank you for being with us as well.
Thank you so much, Diana. I would be delighted, actually, to continue this partnership with you and Deloitte, and have joint initiatives as this one. And now, to each of you listening, you can find the full report and the slides used in this presentation on our website, europeanwomenonboards.eu, as you see on this slide. You know it already, becoming a member is easy. You just go to the website. You can also join our talent pool, click on the information. And if you want to be invited to one of our events, send me a mail, connect on LinkedIn. It's really very easy. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be part of the change, it's easy. You just join now. I think, Diana, we should also thank all the people that have participated in this great project. You will see their names appearing on the screen. So for now, I think we can say have a nice day to everyone, and see you soon.
See you soon, and join the change.